conversation about motorcycles or two-wheelers. Why? Because as we are well aware, India is the one of the largest automobile or motorcycle industry in the world. And like millions of Indians, we too are riders, motorcyclists. We have grown with motorcycles, right? I'm sure you also started riding early because India, yes, we have a great transport system, public transport system, but then last mile connectivity is still a problem in India, especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities, and so on, right? So we started riding pretty early, and today we are going to share the story with you, and that's how we are going to do in future. Talk about motorcycles, raw, unfiltered, no cuts. We are going to fumble, but with time, we are going to do great. And for now, he is going to start his story how that motorcycle bug bit him. Pratik.
So, first of all, I would like to say hello to you all and a very warm and good evening. So, to start with, as he has mentioned, that due to last mile connectivity and many other different ways, vehicles like two-wheelers particularly is a great choice for the tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
Right.
So the thing is that riding a two-wheeler starts with a seed.
Right. Absolutely.
That is being planted.
Absolutely.
Within you.
Yeah.
Because if there is no seed, you will not be able to grow up to a large tree.
Absolutely.
So in every aspect, you will see a biker over there.
Yeah, in today's date, everybody is a biker, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Now it depends on who is a good rider, who is an average rider, right?
Yeah. That's a different story
that
we will talk later on.
Yeah,
but the thing is that so to start with, the first seed of riding was being planted by my father.
Right. Like millions of fathers.
Yeah. that is the main part, because someday I will also be a father. So I will also start teaching my kids how to ride a motorcycle. Yeah. So that's a different story. But the main concern is over here is that fathers should have guts so that they can plant that seed. So in my very early age, when I used to study like in standard higher nursery or so, I used to, at that point of time, my father used to have a Bajaj Chetak. Not the previous one, post-generation Chetak. After that, it has been discontinued. So, while going to the school, I used to stand in the front. Yeah. So, from the very beginning, I didn't have that sense, but I have that passion for riding because I have a great observation power since the beginning. So I used to observe that what are the operations that needs to be taken before riding a motorcycle. So it started like this. On a very first day, my father handed me the accelerator.
So this was in nursery?
Yeah, it is in nursery.
Higher nursery.
Yeah.
Standard 1, we can say.
No, before that.
Yeah.
So it all started with the giving the throttle to a higher nursery kid. So what I was being instructed is that if some vehicle is coming towards you, you just release the throttle.
Right.
If it is already if it is passing by you, then you have to pull the throttle. So with that thing, the insect or the bug has started. So slowly, day by day, my curiosity out of this got increased. And with time, by the time I was in standard 4 or 5, I learned the operation of clutch. Since I am talking about a Bajaj Chetak scooter, so many of us can relate that the gears used to be on our hands, not on the foot.
Traditional scooters on left hand side, even like autos.
Yeah.
Autos.
So Then I started with the gear operations. Then slowly, I learned about braking. And one of the most funniest thing is that by the time when my father has taught me about the throttle, at that point of time I didn't have balance. Like I didn't know how to ride a bicycle. So with time, keeping in mind that I will also ride in the future, uh, I started to learn riding a bicycle. So by the time I was in class 1 or 2 or standard 1 or 2, I fully learned about the balance and all those things. Then by the time when I was in class 5, obviously someone used to sit behind me so that they can put their legs on the ground, because at that point of time my height was very low for riding a bike or motorcycle.
Right.
So they used to drop down their feet on the ground.
Drop down the ankle.
Yeah. And what I used to do is I operate the whole motorcycle.
Yeah.
So it was a tedious task. Many things were also involved in this, many dangerous things. And I strongly believe that many of the Indian parents, I'm talking like this, it may sound awkward, but I am talking as Indian parents. They always try to stop us from doing something that will excite us. Obviously, they have a major concern on us, but they will try to stop us.
Yeah.
Once they are convinced that my kid has grown up, he can ride or he can go somewhere. That's a very different aspects of life. Once they are convinced, then they are chill.
Right.
Like you are good to go.
Right.
So this way I started my journey.
Yes.
So I am also interested about knowing your journey.
So initially, like, he didn't start his like bicycling. He started later, but when I was a like very small kid, my father got me a bicycle. Right? That was the first step, that you learn to ride a cycle. Obviously, not with the idea of riding a motorcycle, but you should learn how to ride a cycle, right? That's the basic. And we are from the 90s, right? So obviously, motorcycling or all those things back then, motorcycling as a hobby or as an adventurous activity wasn't the notion, right? It was more about you learn to ride a bicycle, then later in life you get a motorcycle or you get a scooter, and then you go to office, bazaar, get sabzi and all that, right? So obviously the first step was a bicycle. Now I started riding a bicycle very early, and after that my father had my first encounter with me riding a scooter was at that very like nascent stage, right? I was a kid. My father had an ES, and one day we were going out. We were supposed to go out somewhere, and I was just standing on the scooter. The key was there, right? The ignition was on. So my father just forgot something. He went back into the house, and that moment, by unintentionally, obviously I didn't know there was a self start and all that, right? I clicked on the self start key, accelerated it, and zoom. Like miraculously, nothing happened to me. I fell down, but the scooter, it rammed into a wall, and the scooty ES was done, right? So that's my first encounter with me handling the throttle of a vehicle. That's the first step, right? After
So
that,
in the very first step,
yeah, my first step is an accident. A small kid doing an accident. So right, that's my first
I can
step.
understand that.
Now after that, my father had 2-3 motorcycles, right? So all those old motorcycles. He had an RX 100, right? There was a Shogun, right? There was all those motorcycles.
Old school motorcycles.
So yeah, like childhood was about going on ride with my father, sitting on the tank, like every other kid, right? And it's the same thing, you used to go on a ride, and he used to hold the handle, like the side, the bars, but I used to hold the throttle and zoom. That the basic thing.
Those days are used to be the joyful day
Yeah,
of
yeah,
our life. I
basic
guess.
thing. So now that continued. Meanwhile, in 2000, around 6 or 7, I moved to a place called Jamshedpur or Tatanagar in Jharkhand, right? So now that was a very cultural shock for me because back then, now things are very different in Jamshedpur, but back then in 2006 2007 there weren't any traffic signals or not even traffic police or traffic laws were not very relevant, right? And even today if you go to any tier 2 tier 3 cities, right, it's not very it's not very strict and all that. So I went to school, and when I came out of the gate, I was shocked to see so many scooters and motorcycles. And I was like, what is going on? I mean, I know how many teachers are there in school, so why are there so many scooters and motorcycles, right? And then I saw my classmates, they were taking and those scooters, bikes, and they were going home. So that was the first thing, and then I came to know that okay, there's no, there's no traffic police, there's no worry. You don't have to worry about traffic laws. You just need a vehicle. You don't have to have pollution. You don't need a license. Obviously, you shouldn't do all this because it's against the law. But then that's how it is. All right, it's still very much how it works in tier 2 tier 3 cities. But anyway, so that's how I started learning a scooter. I started learning a scooter, full-fledged, riding on the road, triple riding, no helmet, no papers, nothing, right?
If you have done this in a tier 1 city, then
tier 1 city, it's not possible only, no?
I don't even know.
Yeah, tier 1 city, you can't do it only because some police is going to catch you, right? So that's just not possible, right? In a city like Kolkata or Delhi or Bangalore or Mumbai, Chennai, you can't do all these things so easily. You can do it in your neighborhood, right? But you can't go on to the main road and do all these things, right? So that's how things started in Jamshedpur. I started riding a scooter. And given Jamshedpur is a city where you still don't find, bus as a major transport system. There are buses, but then that's the issue. Last mile connectivity is an issue, and you also have autos, but they go on share, so you can't reach your home directly. If you want to take an auto, you have to book a private auto. That's obviously expensive. So that is the reason. People obviously use scooters and motorcycles. Everybody is riding, right? It doesn't matter age, gender, all those things doesn't matter. Everybody knows how to ride a scooter or a motorcycle, right?
I think that's the basic thing that they have learned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's how it is in every other. It's not just about Jamshedpur. Like I said, go to any tier 2, tier 3 cities, and it's almost the same, I guess, right? I went to Kanpur recently. It's the same thing. Everybody is riding. So anyway, so that's
those who belong from those vicinity, they can understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they are a much better rider.
Yeah.
In the sense that they are much more experienced rider. Now they may not be, they may not be aware of the nuances of riding in the sense traffic laws, the ethical ways of riding, right? Because obviously they have never been put into a, what do you call it, a conveyor belt, that these are the laws, you should follow these and this is how you ride.
Yeah.
But I think they are much more experienced rider, because like I said, you started riding early, right? Because you didn't live in Kolkata, you live in Howrah, which is outskirts of Kolkata, or basically not outskirts, it's a separate part from Kolkata. It's a
different district.
It's a different district, right? So obviously things were a little bit downtrodden there, right? Kolkata is different, Howrah is different. So there's a difference of law, there's a difference of police activity and all that. So same with Jamshedpur. I started riding in standard 7. That was probably in 2006 or 7 or 8, I don't remember. Then within 2 years, by the end of standard 9, I switched to a motorcycle, right? And then I switched to a motorcycle, right? So funny thing is, I remember riding this motorcycle, right? So I had there were many friends with a motorcycle, right? But there were 2 guys. One had a TVS Fiero FX, and another guy had a Pulsar, purple color, round headlight one. Yeah. So the funny thing is, the first time I got onto that Pulsar, it had a kill switch. I wasn't aware of it.
Small one.
I was blue color, not red, blue color one, right? The small one, right? I wasn't aware of it, right? So he gave me the key and he's like, right. I'm like, fine. fine, I will ride. He left. He's like, he take the queue, do a spin around the school area, right? Not an issue. And I kept kicking, right? The self isn't working. I kept kicking,
And that
right?
heavy crank.
Right, yeah.
Oh.
And 15 minutes later, he comes back and he's like, "What are you doing? Why are you standing?" I'm like, "Bro, the motorcycle isn't starting." And he looks at me and he's like, he is obviously abusing me inside. And he's like, "Bro, this switch, you need to get it right. You have to like hit it." Like, okay, there's something called a kill switch.
Those things are need to be aware
Yeah.
beforehand. But the thing is that we didn't have
Yeah,
that
no,
access.
no, I mean,
Nowadays, kids are more smarter.
Yeah.
That's why we are telling them as Gen Z kids.
yeah, I mean,
Right?
the reason is they also have access to,
So the
to a
internet,
laptop.
YouTube.
They also have access to an internet. They also
Yeah.
have access to a YouTube. I mean, there's vast amount of knowledge
They can
you
gather.
can absorb from the internet.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything.
We didn't have anything.
we were manual laborers.
We did mistake,
Uh,
and from that we have learned.
we were manual laborers, right?
Yeah.
So that's how it started. I started riding. But then the thing is, back then it was obviously not with the idea of becoming a rider or a motorcyclist, or even I didn't have the idea of going forward and trying to become somebody who works in the automobile industry as a content creator or a auto journalist,
Yeah.
right? That all those things came much later.
That's
Initially-
that's what I have said.
Yeah.
You have to first plant a seed.
Yeah.
Then the tree will start growing.
Yeah.
With that, branches will be developed.
Right.
So where you planting a seed, you are watering it, you are providing nutrients to the seed.
Right.
Then it is growing.
Yeah.
So you never know, will that tree become so big,
Right.
or it is going to die.
That is true.
So that's the main thing over here.
Right.
So you need to think in that way.
Right. Absolutely.
Not everybody who rides a motorcycle is a rider.
No.
Yeah. Nowadays we often hear, like what I was talking, Gen Z kids. They are also a good rider. But the thing is that when we ride, so we haven't crossed the age limit of 30 yet.
Yeah.
But we often hear from the youngsters that, see, the old man is going, he don't know anything about ride. He don't know about anything about riding. So sometimes I wonder that I should give them a reply. But then I realize that they are growing differently and we have grown differently.
Yeah. See,
They have the access to put their thumbs on the self-start button and they used to start. Whereas when we were kids,
we had kick.
what we have to do, I literally standed on the kick
Yeah.
so that it get compressed.
Exactly.
So I hope you can also relate that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So nowadays when they say all this, sometimes I wonder that they haven't also heard about those heavy kicks and all those things.
Yeah. I mean, see that we can also talk about electronic aids on motorcycles, but
Yeah.
we are going to talk about that later. That's going to be a
Yeah.
separate episode because that's going to be too much. Right now, it's about our bug. He's bug. That's how it's happened. It happened with me. That's how it happened. Standard 9 scooter, standard 10 motorcycle, and then coming to trip. Right, we are going to talk about your trip.
Yeah.
Right. Before that, I'll start my trip. Right. So my first trip was Jamshedpur to Ranchi is a 120, 30 kilometer ride, like the distance, right? And
So when it was then?
that was in standard 9 only. That was standard 9.
So you started riding a bike or a motorcycle apart from a scooter, and then you did the trip.
No, the trip was on a scooter only. That was not on a motorcycle.
Wow.
That was on a scooter only. So standard 9 was probably in 2010 or 11, something like that, right? So we bunked school, right? So the school timing was 7 to 1, but we used to leave home at around 5 o'clock, 5:30.
Too early.
Right? Too early. So basically the window was 5:30 you leave home and you reach home by around 2:33, right? So that was the window we had, that we leave at 5, right? We take our scooters, we go to Ranchi and we come back, right? And we did it.
I haven't bunked any classes of my school.
we bunked school, right?
I haven't bunked.
We bunked school. We went to Ranchi without any gears, no helmet, no papers, no license, nothing. Like
That
3, 4 guys, 6 guys on double sharing scooters. We went to Ranchi, we came back, and that was my first ever trip. Not with the idea of doing a trip. You can say that back then it was sort of a chapri activity, right? That's what it was, right? But that was my first trip, first going to a
so
highway.
we most
Right.
most of us have started like this only.
Yeah.
There was no point of like whenever I came across of any groups or solo riders or senior riders, I must say, they have done all those trips
Right.
with a basic motorcycle.
Yes.
So in the next few episodes we will talk about this, I guess, because if I start to talk about all those things, I'm just giving a small briefing about the
Yeah.
ideas that we are going to share in
Yeah.
the next episodes. So we will have the discussion on that. Definitely some things are there that that are coming on my mind right now, but due to time limitations I cannot share that.
We don't want to bore you.
Yeah,
We don't want you to
we
watch
don't
30
want to.
minutes. Our faces, no. We
No.
want to keep it as short as possible.
Yeah.
But we definitely want it to be relatable. This is not going to be a tech talk, or this is not about doing motorcycle reviews, because there are experts, who are doing reviews on YouTube, right? So we don't think we will ever do that, or maybe we will talk about certain motorcycles, right? But not reviews or not tech talk, but conversation about motorcycles or the motorcycle ecosystem,
Yeah.
right? The motorcycle ecosystem and things that we believe are really going to be relatable. Things
The
that
same
you
thing-
do, things that we do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
appreciate
that.
that. One thing I forgot to mention, that you already said that you embarked this journey.
Yeah.
And later on you started doing the content creation part for automobile.
Yeah.
Similar thing goes for me too.
Right.
I haven't decided that I will do something about
Yeah.
automobile, but when I got the opportunity to do something for the automobile industry, I started uh, to pursue my higher education. So I did my BTech and Master of Engineering in automobile, and currently I am pursuing as a research scholar.
Yeah.
In the Department of Center for Automotive Research and Tribology. So it is a center under IIT Delhi.
Yeah.
So that's a.
So
I mean,
when did you think of pursuing engineering from an automobile enthusiast point of view? How did that occur?
yeah, like you were discussing about trips,
Right.
So at a very early age, when I used to see people,
Right.
like they are quite aged. They were at that point of time, they were at their 20s
Right. Right.
or 30s.
Right.
I didn't have a valid driving license.
Right. We didn't. Nobody had.
So since that time, what I thought is that once I turned 18, I should have a driving license in my pocket.
Right.
So that's the main thing. I didn't even bother about buying a motorcycle or getting a motorcycle for me. The only thing that I was concerned about is a driving license.
Right.
So the day when I turned 18, by the time I have already submitted my my driving license application to the motor vehicles department. And after 10 days of turning 8 into my 18, I got my driving license. So from that point of time, I used to think that if I do a trip, I need to carry a mechanic with me, because nowadays, even I am talking about after 2020s, you will be able to find many mechanics or technician or service center
There are
across the country.
Now, so every company has a
Yeah.
road safety assistance as well.
Yeah,
Right. Back then we
back
had
then,
nothing.
no, there
Yeah,
was
we had
no
nothing.
way of RSA also.
Yeah. We didn't have gears only.
Once you say, like, I have this thinking, I have a thought in my mind that if I am going on a trip and something happens with my motorcycle in between, what I will do.
Right.
it might be a late night, it might be a sunny late afternoon, where finding a technician in the middle of nowhere is next to impossible.
Absolutely.
And since there was a no provision for RSA, so I have to learn something which I can utilize on my journey.
So that's why you choose
That's why I have chosen engineering
because
and particularly automobile.
because see, in India, I mean, no offense to anybody, but in India, people take engineering, right? Be it auto or any department, and most of them switch to IT. Right?
Yeah, I got many opportunities.
No
Yeah.
offense there. No offense there.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want with your career as long as it's paying you good and you're happy. So no offense there, but that's the case usually.
No.
So it's very good to see that you didn't do that. You are, I mean, you are doing something related to auto, and that's going to be your future career. Something related to auto only.
Now people will laugh that look at this kid. He has done his automobile engineering keeping in mind that he has to apply something if his motorcycle breaks down in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So that's a very small portion.
I think this is a very inspiring thing. If you are a kid who is presently in standard 12 and if you love riding motorcycle, do automobile engineering and stick to automobile engineering related work because you love your motorcycle or you love your car, right? So I think that's a very very valid
so after
point.
that, like you have said, that after that I also got opportunity in the ITs, but I didn't go because I thought that I have done automobile engineering. I will definitely stick with this subject only.
Yeah.
I won't move anywhere else.
Right.
So paying is not a concern for my case. It might be a concern for others, but it was never an option for me. And then I decided to go further and explore more about this automotive field. Then I started doing my ME. Then what I thought that there are very less amount of researchers or the researches that have been going on currently for the automobile industry in our country, India. So people from Taiwan, people from Japan, they are working heavily and steadily on these aspects.
So that's basically your way of staying on the course to remain in a career that's basically related to automobile. That was your thing. So if I speak about mine, then so I was never never a very bright student or anything, right? I didn't have very good grades.
The same thing goes for me too.
Yeah, but so I was, since riding was a thing, it slowly turned into a passion. By the time I reached standard 11, standard 11, 12, I was, and there is another thing actually that happened when back then we obviously didn't have internet and all that, right? YouTube and channels, automobile videos and all that. So, but when we used to travel in the railway stations, we used to see, automobile magazines, automobile journalism magazines of Autocar or Overdrive, right? And I used to buy them not because I wanted to read them, because I was never really a bookworm, but I wanted to just swipe the pages and go through the images, go through the cool motorcycle and car images
on the tracks.
Yeah, and on the while traveling in a train, right? So obviously that was
like the bikes on the tracks.
Yeah,
and you are seeing on the tracks.
Yeah, on the track, right? So that was my first like connection or a step towards what automobile journalism is, because back then nobody knew. I also wasn't aware, nobody was aware, right? But and then slowly I started to read, right? Now obviously it was very hard for me to understand the terminology and all that, because I do not have a mechanical background. Even today I don't think I am very mechanically sound as you are, but with time I got to understand, I learned how a engine works and all that, right? And slowly, and that's when I never had, like I said, I never had good grades, but I knew what I wanted to do in life, right? And that's when I decided I'll pursue journalism. And when I started pursuing journalism and I entered my career stage, I realized that okay, this is the path to get into automobile journalism. And I'll be honest, even today I have not worked with a very big media house, big automobile media house, but I have somewhat made it in that space, right? I have articles online, I have published articles online and all that, right? So that was my way into this ecosystem, this motorcycling or auto journalism ecosystem, right? And I guess, I mean, a lot of us, lot of people who are watching right now, I mean, it's possible that you are a very good rider and you are not working professionally in the auto industry, but you are a very good rider, right? You are a very good motorcyclist. You are a very knowledgeable motorcyclist. So it is. We are not saying that if you are a rider, you have to do something related to automobile or motorcycle, no, or cars, no, right? That's not the case. You can do whatever you want, right? But yeah, I mean, those who are interested in motorcycles or cars, and if they are thinking of taking automobile engineering or journalism, then I think they should have the courage, the willpower to pursue it and not give up easily, right? That's one way of making it, staying in the automobile sector and churning their passion into a profession.
Yeah.
Right?
One more thing I would like to add over here is there is a different aura in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to explore what drives you crazy.
Yeah.
So you have to explore that.
Yeah, I mean,
and with that you will gain a decent amount of knowledge on that.
Yeah, workplace shouldn't be boring.
Yeah,
Workplace shouldn't be boring, and for me, and I'm sure for it is for you as well, that the workplace is not boring. What we do, I think we have really fun when
passion driven thing where
Yeah.
there is a passion driven thing, so that
Right.
won't become
But
a boring.
but at the same time, like I said, there are many people who are good riders, who are
Actually,
good
we are.
motorcyclists.
I also must say, sorry for interrupting you. I must say that what we are doing currently with our passion and with our career, I think very few people are so lucky.
Yeah, that is there. That luck factor is there. But at the same time, you also need to acknowledge that. I mean, if somebody, like I said, there are many people who are knowledgeable people, who are good riders, who are good motorcyclists, but they are also happy in other careers. So that's completely
Definitely.
their choice, right? If they are happy doing something else as well, right? The profession and passion is different, so that is cool. There's no harm in it. Like
But they should also ride.
Yeah, they should also
keep
ride.
to
Right.
keep them
they
happy.
should keep riding,
Yeah.
right? They should keep riding as well.
Whatever their
Yeah.
profession
Whatever
is.
their profession is, whatever your profession is, if you have decided that you are a motorcyclist or you are a rider, then you should continue doing it. Yes, at some point you could have a reason to not do it anymore. That's on you. If you
We have just shared this
yeah
to open up our views to you all.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, we are not here to say
For
that
career guidance, we
yeah,
are not here.
we are not here to say that we are correct, right? We are not here to prove anything. We are not here to say that we are correct or we are incorrect. We are just here to give our opinion about motorcycles or the overall motorcycle, car, automobile ecosystem, and we are here to give our opinion unfiltered and raw. That's our tagline, unfiltered and raw, right? And we want to hear your opinion as well. For example, today's episode was how the motorcycle bug bit us, how our motorcycling journey started. So in the comment section, we want you to speak about your motorcycling journey, how it has been, whether you ride, whether your passion and profession, they are the same, whether they are different, right? What you have learned from riding, what you can give us. We would love to hear what you have to say about riding, because we would love to learn from you.
We will be
Right.
very glad to
Yeah,
know
we will be
if
very
you
glad to know.
share your experience
Yeah,
with us.
absolutely.
So the comment box
Right.
is all yours.
Right.
So drop a comment so that we can also understand that alongside how people are doing with the motorcycles or riding community with the career.
Yeah, this channel is all about making relatable content. Like this channel is about gupshup, right? Adda bazi about motorcycles. No tech stuff, no review too much, because we are not going to be doing reviews. There are other experts who are doing. Who are legends in this industry in India. So you follow them. We all know their names, right? We don't need to take their names.
In fact, we also follow them.
Yeah, in fact, we follow them, obviously. They have shaped our passion, right?
Yeah.
We have watched them growing, right? When we were growing, we have watched them, so they were our inspiration. Like we have learned a lot from them, right? So that's pretty much for the first episode. My name is Rohit Chatterjee. This is Ritik Das, and we are 411 Motor. Thank you.
Thank you.